If you're a runner or an athlete that has chronic plantar fasciitis or Achilles tendonitis, this video is made for you. It presents a strong argument for passive stretch of the Achilles tendon. You've probably learned that active stretching can provide temporary relief of these symptoms, but there's nothing like passively stretching. The Achilles tendon is one of the strongest tendons in the body, and it has to be to support your weight and propel you. Now, when the foot is plantar flexed, as in this illustration in a high-heeled shoe, the Achilles is not being passively stretched. However, in the same elevated position, the gastroc soleus is at full contraction. That's the calf muscle. Here's the Achilles in a more natural position with the tendon fully stretched. So what is the best position for your Achilles tendon to be in when standing and walking? Now, it's important to remember that we're not discussing running here, simply casual use of footwear. This is important to understand, because the purpose of our discussion today is to look at your casual footwear and determine whether it is helping you or hurting you when it comes to treating or preventing plantar fasciitis and Achilles problems. So which is the most functional state of the Achilles for standing still on your feet or walking? Well, this answer shouldn't surprise you. The most functional state of the Achilles tendon is when it's fully stretched out and the foot and heel are flat on the ground. The truth is, if you're looking to continue your exercise program or increase its intensity, your Achilles will love you if you keep it stretched out. So let's get into some data. But before we do, I want to discuss with you something I call the internet blog crab. Now, this little guy, he combs the internet for discussions about running and proper running footwear. And if you discuss with him minimalist footwear, he might get a little feisty and try to drag you into a conversation about barefoot running and how dangerous it is. Just remember, we're not talking about running here. We're just talking about standing and walking. And I think you'll be surprised at the data we've come up with and how it can help you in your life. So we're learning it's important to stretch your Achilles tendon. But let's look at the footwear that'll help you do that. Minimalist footwear is usually footwear that is no more than 5 millimeters in height from rear foot to forefoot. That's roughly 5 degrees. So here's a question. Grocery shopping in this footwear would be good for you. True or false? Well, you know from our discussion that this is true. Everyday activities like grocery shopping are great for passively stretching your Achilles and using your foot muscles. The more you stretch to your end range of motion, the greater communication there is with the ground, and you get better blood flow, but only in the right kind of shoes. Minimalist shoes. Okay, quiz question 2. These shoes represent the perfect everyday footwear. True or false? Well, you know that's false. And the reason is pretty simple. These shoes have 30 degrees of heel drop. The Achilles will get tight and shorten if these shoes are worn consistently. Achilles gets tight and shortens. Footwear that is excessively padded or too high in the heel, or has too much internal arch support, definitely does not allow for a natural, complete stretch of your Achilles tendon. This is important. You know, when you're young, your Achilles tendon has a very, very high modulus of stretch. It can adapt. But as we get older, the tendon's ability to stretch out decreases. And if the tendon is shocked too often, deposits can form on the tendon that can become chronically painful. So let's talk about Achilles tendonitis and plantar fasciitis. You know, there's sort of a tug-of-war that goes on between these two structures. The Achilles on one side is a tendon, a powerful tendon pulling up on the heel bone. And the plantar fascia is a ligament that attempts to support the heel bone in a more downward position. There's the Achilles pulling at a 90-degree force vector to the plantar fascia. Too much pulling can create a moment of tension and inflammation. But by decreasing the amount of pulling, by stretching the tendon, the predisposition for plantar fasciitis and Achilles tendonitis is much less. So no matter what your sport or activity, passively stretching the Achilles tendon will greatly aid in your ability to resist plantar fasciitis and Achilles tendonitis symptoms, both before and after your activity. Let's consider this convalescence line. It's important that you put yourself on some part of the line. Honestly determine where you're at. Because the more you are towards the left side of the line, the more likely you are to get injured. And the more you are towards the right side of the line, the more likely you are to become more and more athletic, strong, and injury resistant. So let's talk about running. Well, running is a sport that requires some equipment. And you can run in whatever you want to. There are many types of footwear good for running, depending on your running style. But when you aren't running, you should be in minimalist footwear. Now, sometimes your job requires you to wear footwear that is non-optimum. For instance, steel-toe boots often have a very high heel, as well as Italian footwear. So the thing to do here is to simply wait until you get off work and bring a pair of minimalist shoes with you and get into the shoes without insoles and without the use of any devices. Now, the reason we warn you about insoles and definitely warn you about devices is that they restrict the motion of the foot. To check all the boxes, you just need the shoes. Now, we believe that both custom and prefabricated orthotics and insoles are overutilized. Now, we understand that there are other philosophical models that preach stability all the time, but we believe that a more natural approach is to attempt to keep the strength you have and build on it. At the Feet for Life Podiatry Centers, we created the Motion Center. For more than 5 years now, we've been fitting patients with minimalist footwear and informing them that minimalist footwear is good equipment for living. Once people try it, they favor this type of footwear. If you're interested in more information, you can go to one of our websites. At feetforlife.com, you can find out more information about our podiatry services. At cleanspa.com, you can find out how we're reinventing pedicure. And at trustedfootcare.com, you can explore real testimonials. Now we know that there's much more to this subject that we can cover in one video. So to find out more, go to WordPress. Thanks for listening.